Now I would like to introduce you to our next guest speaker, Secretary General of the World Federation of Chiropractic, Richard Brown, who has honored us with his presence here today and at our annual meeting. Richard is former president of the British Chiropractic Association and a former General Secretary of the European Chiropractic Association, or Union. And now he is the General Secretary of the WFC. I'm very happy that you have taken your time to be here with us today and celebrate our 90th anniversary. The world is yours. Richard.
Well, good morning, everyone. I was going to use a slide presentation this morning, but seeing the auspicious speakers before me and the fact that they managed to speak without using slides, I thought I'd give it a go as well. But Denmark holds a special place in my heart because when I was a student at AECC, in my first year, over 30% of the students were Danish. And it was in the days when we used to have a register that was called. And it used to start out, and everyone could almost recite the register of the 120 or so people in our first year. And it always started with Abel, and then Anderson, and Jesper's here today. And it went through, and it finally got to N. So, and then it went Nielsen, 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 Nielsen. And I think there were 6 Nielsens who were in our who were in our class, but now, of course, we've gone way beyond that, and the technological age has approached, and of course we now have Facebook, and we're able to log in, and we're able to look at lectures online, and we're able to do everything technologically, and I mean, how many of you here have Facebook accounts? Everybody has a Facebook account. Nearly everybody has a Facebook account, and as you know, as Lorna just said, I've recently taken up a new role in Canada, and it's meant moving from rural Gloucestershire in the UK over to Canada, and it's the 6th largest city in North America, so it's a bit daunting for a country boy like me. And I thought, how on earth am I going to integrate myself into Canadian life and life in a big city? And I thought, well, I'll use the same principles as we use on Facebook. So I thought I'd give it a go, and so what I did is I started walking up to people, and I would tell them what I'd eaten the night before, and then I would tell them what I'd done the night before, and what I was going to do tonight, and who I was going to do it with. And I'd reach into my pocket, and I showed them a few pictures, and I showed them pictures of myself and my family and my dog and me in the garden and me in front of famous buildings. And I'd go and I'd listen in on their conversations, and when I liked what they said, I'd go up to them and I'd put my thumbs up. And it's working. In Toronto, it's working. I've now got 4 followers. And those followers are 2 police officers, a private investigator, and a psychiatrist. So I want to just talk briefly about the World Federation of Chiropractic, because some of you may be very familiar with the World Federation, some of you won't be familiar at all with what the World Federation does. And when I was a student and when I was early in my career, I'd heard of the World Federation of Chiropractic. I knew that it was that it represented chiropractic on a global level, but I didn't really realize what it did. And it's only as I've gone through my career I've really realized what it did. And what I want to do as the Secretary General is to make sure that the World Federation of Chiropractic can impact on the lives of every chiropractor in a positive way. I want chiropractic, the WFC, to mean something to everyone. And that means reaching out. Some of you may not know that the WFC actually has 88 country members globally. At our assembly earlier this year in Athens, and some of you would have been there, we welcome new members such as Malta and Sri Lanka and Estonia, but we also have very large associations such as Canada, associations from the United States and Australia. And we're in 7 world regions. we're a truly global organization. So as well as Europe, and we have 25 members in Europe, 25 national association members, we also have federations in Africa, in Asia, in the Pacific region, North America, Latin America, and in the Eastern Mediterranean. So we are truly global. And I think the impact of that global nature of the profession was really brought home to me earlier this year. And some of you may well have heard of World Spine Care. And World Spine Care is a not-for-profit organization that was set up by Scott Haldeman and others. And its role is to serve underprivileged, underserved communities throughout the world. And I had the privilege of serving a month in Botswana. And spine care in Botswana is really quite important because, as in many African countries, if you have back pain and you can't work, then you can't eat. And if you can't eat, that has an impact on your ability to look after your family. So spine care has a truly dramatic and catastrophic impact. And I don't think we realize really, while we're sitting here in Europe, in our relative comfort, the impact that back pain really has, or the impact that we really can have as chiropractors and are having in people's lives. And my first patient, on my first morning, and we were in a rural clinic in Shoshong. Now, Shoshong is about 40 kilometers from Mahalapi. Mahalapi is a town that sits between the capital of Gaborone and Francistown. Now, Botswana is an enormous country, and people have to travel many hours to have treatment. Botswana is the size of France, and yet there's only a population of 11 million. So to get any sort of service, they have to travel a long way. And when we arrived in the morning, for my first morning at the clinic in Shoshong, which is a rural community, the patients were waiting under a tree. And they had waited under that tree for several hours. Some of them had traveled hours to get there. And my first patient was wheelchair bound. And he was wheelchair bound because he had suffered from TB. The TB had not been treated. His spine had collapsed as a result of a TB abscess in the vertebral body, and he was confined to a wheelchair. He wheeled himself in a wheelchair that was many years old. It was encrusted with dirt. The wheels were not true, but he pushed himself in, and he gently lifted himself from his wheelchair onto the treatment table. And then he lifted the half-full bag of urine that was in his catheter onto the treatment table. And this was my first experience of spine care in Africa. And it made me realize the nature of the World Federation of Chiropractic and the impact that we can have as chiropractors and the impact that we can have as a federation. And the vision of positively impacting on the lives of every chiropractor was really brought home to me. And the fact that we really do have a role to play as individuals in being part of something that is bigger than us. And chiropractic in Denmark has achieved huge success. And with that right to practice and the right to practice in comfort as we do, we also have a responsibility, I feel. We have a responsibility not just to look within our own country, but also to look further, to look into Europe and to look into the rest of the world and to provide assistance and support and guidance and help to those who haven't got the luxury and the facilities that we have as chiropractors. So thinking about what I would do when we started with the World Federation, I was in a very fortunate position in that I was able to take over from David Chapman Smith, who founded the Federation back in 1988 and has taken it to what it is today. So it was a fantastic opportunity. It is a fantastic opportunity. But it makes you think, what can I do? What can I add to all of this? Well, my role is really just to facilitate. You know, the World Federation is not about me or about any other individual. It's about all of us working together. And that's where I see the importance of the WFC as being. We have our assemblies, we have our congresses, we have education conferences, but we're also more than that. You know, we are there to be the voice of chiropractic globally. We're there to be ambassadors for the profession and to help new pioneering countries develop and evolve. And Denmark is one of those great examples that I can give whenever I go around the world and I'm speaking about areas that have achieved huge success. Denmark is always one of them. And sometimes I don't think you realize exactly what it is you have here in Denmark. And it's been the product of not just one person, but a number of people over many years who have got you to this wonderful stage where you are really the envy of the world. And for a country with 5.6 million people, you know, what chiropractors have achieved in Denmark is truly fantastic. And I wish you all a very happy 90th birthday. So what is the vision? What are we going to do? What have we got to do as a profession? What have we got to do globally? Well, I think there's 4 things. And the 4 pillars of what I see the World Federation as doing in the coming years are support, empowerment, promotion, and unity. Support, because we have a responsibility to support each other in practice as colleagues. We have a responsibility to support those countries who haven't achieved what we have achieved yet. We have the responsibility, thank you very much, Henry. So we have the responsibility to share best practice and to guide and also to empower. And empowerment is the next pillar. You know, empowerment is really important. We need to be empowering chiropractors to have the confidence to go forward into new areas and to develop themselves and the profession in their countries. We have a responsibility to empower our students, but also we have a responsibility to empower our leaders. And interestingly, we have just had an election in Canada. And some of you will have seen that the new Prime Minister is Justin Trudeau. And some of you in the room will remember Pierre Trudeau back in the 70s. But Justin Trudeau has just appointed his cabinet. And the cabinet has 50% women. And it also has other ethnic and religious groups. And it's well represented and it's diverse. And this is where we need to be taking the WFC. And this is where I'm determined to take the WFC. And it was interesting that when Justin Trudeau was asked why it was that he had appointed so many women in his cabinet and so many people from diverse groups, he says, it's 2015. And I think, well, what a great answer that was. It was a simple answer. But here we are in 2015, and we have to be empowering our leaders and making sure that equality and diversity is represented right across the piece. And it's fantastic to see Lona here as the leader of the Danish Association doing such a fantastic job. And we have other examples in Europe, and we have to spread that to the rest of the world. We have a role to play in public health. One of the things that we are very proud of as a World Federation is that we are an NGO of the World Health Organization. And that really is a big deal. We've been in official relations with the World Health Organization since 1997. It means that we have a seat at the table. And you will know the expression, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. Well, we're at the table. and what we do has an important part to play. We have people, chiropractors involved in important projects within the WHO. We have been tasked with the responsibility to classify disability, functioning and health for the entirety of manual medicine. And that's an achievement of which we can be proud. We should be proud of our education. We have educational programs in Europe that I think are the envy of the world, university-based education programs. And here in Denmark, I think that the education program at the University of Southern Denmark is one of the beacons of the chiropractic world, and I congratulate those who have been responsible for developing that. Research is the other important pillar of what we do, and again, Denmark is at the forefront of that. And Denmark is sharing their research knowledge and sharing their expertise with others around the world, both funding WHO fellows, in giving endowments to other groups and helping other countries to develop and evolve. So we're taking on that responsibility, and you are in Denmark. So I think in closing, and in saying congratulations to everyone in this room who does a fantastic job every day in their practices, you should be proud to be chiropractors in Denmark. I think it is really at the forefront of the profession globally. And I'm reminded, as I close, of an interview that was once done with Muhammad Ali. And Muhammad Ali, as you know, was one of the greatest heavyweight boxers that the world has ever known. And in an interview one day, somebody said to Muhammad Ali, "Muhammad Ali, have you got any faults?" And Muhammad Ali thought for a moment and he said, yes, he said, I have got one fault. And then they said, well, can you share that with us? And he said, yes, I can. He said that fault is that sometimes I don't realize how great I really am. So my message to everyone here today is realize how great you really are. Realize where you are in the world of chiropractic. You've worked hard to get here. You've not taken the easy road. You're not taking the easy road now. You work hard, you pay good money to be where you are, you donate to research, and you support education. You really are at the pinnacle, and you're a great example for me when I travel around the world. Thank you very much indeed.